Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into the Nova GG Cosmic Cup Championship for Marvel Rivals for the month of May. My name is Chase of Spades. I am your play-by-play caster for this evening.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mike Wazowski _209, but you just call me Michael. So I'm very excited to get this going. And yeah, I'm still excited at Marvel Rivals. Let's get it going. Chase, you want to take the lead on this?
Of course. So the first map, obviously, we're going to be playing here is the wonderful Hydra base, which is going to be on Domination. Now, Mike, you probably know significantly, well, not significantly, but you know a decent bit more about Marvel than I have. I'm still getting used to the game. The game's pretty new to the esports scene. So, obviously, we have a lot of young competitors that definitely want to kind of throw their hat in the ring and definitely see, what kind of magic they can make. Am I right?
Yeah, most definitely. A lot of young gamers. Oh, man, first off, young gamers, you guys are doing great. You guys made me hang up their controller soon. But I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of young gamers are anticipating to make their name on here. I personally love this map. It's fun just to run around, explore, and get your little strategy going. Feel free. Kind of see how the teams are going to approach the scenery, see which team comes up with the best strategy to approach it. I know a lot of characters are excited to use it with the new game mods and how a lot of players are being updated. So I'm excited to see how this really goes. I'm just as eager as a kid right now.
Of course. So, just in general, Marvel Rivals plays pretty similar. A lot of people have compared it kind of like to Overwatch. If anyone hasn't played Overwatch, game modes really simplistic. This one's actually probably even more so simplistic since we usually only have about like 2 or 3 game modes we usually go through. Domination being the first one we're starting out with at the moment. But just in general, right?
Yeah.
What's
No,
kind of
most
like the
definitely.
go-to thing here?
Yeah, most definitely. It's funny that you mentioned that. Literally, the moment I hopped on this game, I was like, "Yep, this is Overwatch." But I like it. It's a fun game to hop on. Me and my friends like to play it. I see a lot of characters are being chosen already, and let's get it started. There's a lot of great choices out there. I see Human Torch is a good choice out there. Spider-Man, can't go wrong with Old Cap over there. How we feeling? Or I guess we can't really talk to them, but let's get it going.
So, just
Sorry,
looking
force
in
that
general
right there.
at the at the general team comp, right? I mean, obviously you got so on the top half here, you pretty much will have 2 teams kind of meet in the middle, see what's going to happen here. But in comparison to Overwatch, I know Overwatch recently had a a new mode that got added, kind of re-sparked some ever living life out of it. But this is a 6v6, and a lot of competitive games recently have been kind of leaning more towards the 5-on-5. So, what difference, as someone who has played competitively, what difference does that one extra person on each team make?
I think that one different person makes a tremendous difference, just because compared to strategy wise and just how you approach the round and scenery, having that one person goes long ways for offensive reasons and defensive reasons. You get a scenery of how which characters are being disposed. We know Thor's Infinity, he has no cooldown on that. So how do you want to approach that? Do you use that character as a sacrifice in a way, or are we kind of making it as a utilization for a way to get a spark on your team to overconquer that team? So I think that one player is very necessary. We've always been known as being that one extra guy on that team to take the hit, just for the others to see some success and get the win at the end of the round. So I think having that one person goes long ways, to be honest with you.
And, it's pretty interesting considering. So in general, right, whenever we're looking here at the pick and ban phase, which, by the way, the phase of pick and ban is basically there are selectable characters in the game. So what the players are currently doing is banning any selectable character that they don't want to go against. Both teams have equal opportunity to ban X amount, so 6, of which there are a pretty hefty number in the game. There's 3 roles: Vanguards, Duelist, and Strategist. Your Vanguards are your tanks. They're the ones that usually take on most of the damage, and usually can put out a decent amount, but their main goal is usually like defense and pushing the team forward, or protecting them during a retreat. Duelist, your DPS, damage per second. They're the ones that are usually dishing out the most damage. And your strategists or supports, they're the ones usually doing most of the healing and just general supportive things. They can also toss out some defensive things here and there, but they definitely are not in charge of damage dealing. Well, unless you apparently play Emma Frost in last update.
I love it. I was just saying, a lot of those players are doing that last minute switch before the countdown. I like it. Try to get a little in their head a little bit. That was just a pretty cool approach right there. Loving the skin choices by a lot of the characters too.
Right. So, I mean, right now, kind of just hanging out. Gives the team, a little bit of time to switch up if they need to. And Rocket is a really good pick for this. So, as you can see, honestly, a lot of people are just like, oh, why would he throw the thing just straight out the gate? It actually is giving them extra armor to go ahead and just start the round off right with just a little bit extra armor.
Yeah, you can never go wrong with that guy right there.
Oh yeah, no, never. We love Rocket. So, the area for the effect is going to unlock here in just a few seconds here. They're going to go ahead and take some shots here at the door. And we're about to get into our first engagement. So they seem to be kind of pulling over towards this right side here. So it's actually a pretty good strategy to kind of not exactly stay bundled up, but it's a good job on their part to kind of stick with some of that overhead cover. It prevents any... Because, I mean, no one knows who they have until you first get there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially looking at the rosters right here, I don't really see too many characters that are flying over there. You got Mantis, but Wolverine, Cap, or I guess Emma over there. But, yeah, right there, I kind of like that approach right there. It seems Blue's really taking good dominant control right now. Red's kind of taking a little beating right now, but they're kind of making their way through of it. Kind of making that approach corner to it. I'm really liking the way Blue's approaching it at the moment, even though, ooh, maybe I'm speaking too hype on the Blue right now, as Red's taking a dominant control right now.
Yeah, so Red side definitely had a little bit more of a
control, yeah.
A little bit more control, able to push them back outside of sight, kind of forcing a little bit of a reset, but I mean, realistically, that's not like a huge burner. Usually the first fight is just kind of to feel out your enemy, see what characters they actually decided to bring, see if anyone's going to change anything up. Magneto definitely should be a really big plus for them. Pulling out a lot of defense here, trying to just do a lot of damage, but they do know who they're focusing, and they're doing a lot of damage to Magneto. There's going to be a couple of picks there. Fuse definitely pulling their own weight by a support. That's 3 elims on that one engagement, and they're actually make it 4 because they just got Magneto as well.
Yeah, you can most definitely see Team Reg just really on it right now. Let's see if Hawkeye could get something type of going. We know how damaged his one hits can be, or at least any type of hit really. It's not really looking too good over there. But yeah, Team Red's very dominant right now. Like I said, you never want to go too far. Team Blue, minor setback, major comebacks. It's always a friendly little way. It's always beginning. So I think we can most definitely see some excitement and spark coming from Team Blue. As I'm trying to give you guys some hype, and you're not working with me, guys, but we got this. So I'm loving Blue, but it's like, come on, guys. I'm looking down. I see a screen and we're down, but it's all good. Alrighty, guys. We know minor setback, major comebacks.
So Frozen Airfield is going to go to the red side to start out here. I mean, overall, Fused was absolutely just going insane. You got to give it to FLP as well, being able to definitely make use of the verticality that Wolverine allows. But even on the opposite side, Twos was able to do an absolute number with Magneto, but he just was taking way too much damage. Probably needed just a little bit more help from their supports, but I mean, realistically, there's not really much you can do when you're being targeted. So that's kind of where that trade-off comes in at, is that a DPS can only help out the tank as much as the or I'm sorry, the supports can only help out the tank as much as the DPS can help protect the supports, and it's a team game. It really just depends.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it really is. And I'm glad you say it's a team game because I know we were talking about the 5v5 versus 6v5. So I'm really hoping we'll see a lot of, now that we got like the first round, first fights over. We know Red won, but now we're gonna really see a little bit more strategy play on both sides of this game. You know, we might see a more of offensive, aggressive, but more on the defensive side for blue. Well, we'll also see more of a dominant on the red side, as we can see right here in this room right here. We got one of them already down. Team Red's making their push for it. It's not really looking too good for blue, but you know, like I said, they're gonna come in very more aggressive. So I'm expecting a lot more fighting these guys right now.
Yeah, so, which as you can see, like, red is doing a very good job of not overextending, not pushing way too far. Blue is using that to their advantage, choosing a side, dedicating to it, and making a team push here, which they are choosing to do here on the left side. Ultimate is going to come out, though, which is going to do a whole lot of damage.
Yeah, that was a whole lot of damage right there. I was just seeing that one coming from a mile away. Yeah, that was a very great move and strategy by Red right there. I mean, you can't really do too much, especially when 5 of you guys go down. So yeah, it's looking very aggressive on the red side right now. Hopefully, blue could get some type of spark going. There we go.
Yeah, I mean and you are gonna hear Rocket's ultimate also coming out there, trying to just put out some of that extra damage boost, see what's going to connect here. And they are actually managing to push a little bit, but I don't know if it's just going to be enough. Oh, man, good pick there by Jeff. Gonna just kind of drag him back over here to spawn, toss him out.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing, put him out there. As you were just saying, Rocky was about to make that move, but you got to give the Shark good credit, man. As Rocky just goes down.
So you got 60% now for red, looking to make this a 2-0 setup here, though. But I mean, like, overall, just like in comparison, I mean, Rocket definitely had a decent idea. I mean, you're backed up against the wall. It is not like a bad idea to just go ahead and use that Rocket ult to maybe push your way forward, but it just seemed like they got countered pretty much off the front end here. But they are able to get on the point.
Yeah, finally, yeah. I was gonna say, I'm not too mad at Rocket. Making an ultimate power move like that time, especially with the score like that. What's the saying? There are no bad ideas in desperate times. So, as blue just continues to take a really hardship fall right now, I think kind of safe to say we know who's gonna take this victory.
With overtime dwindling down, they pretty much have to make a rushing flow for it, and with Cap able to use American Rush, it's that one's going to go also over to the red side.
Yeah, that was not looking too good. Hey, but that was great efforts from blue. It just sucked they got pinned in that corner. A lot of things didn't go too well. Rocket, we're really hoping for Rocket to make some type of move. Don't let it be too much of a beating. But, what can you say? I thought overall we saw a lot of great strategy from Team Red on this side. Like, I thought a lot of great moves were displayed, especially being very aggressive and just kind of cornering blue in a kind of that one-room spot. Kind of giving them really no light in that to see, but what can you do on that one? But shout out to the MVP over there.
Yeah, Field. So we mentioned that to Fused. We mentioned them. They got 4K just pretty much off the rip, which Fused was. I mean, Mantis themselves is not a DPS, but they are very, very good at securing those, like, that last little bit of health and picking that one away. But I mean, yeah, 17, 19, pretty much all up in the double digits is the red team. But good showing there by blue team. Definitely had kind of a really good idea, I think. Their main issue, I believe, honestly, was not necessarily a fault of their own. It was more so just the verticality of the map. They did stick together pretty much through all the team fights. The unfortunate circumstance there with the Rocket ult, I mean, they were doing what they had to try to just get the team forward, but just not enough beans. Just didn't have enough gas to get through there.
I really hear you on that one. You know, it's kind of like you really want to like try to make an aggressive move, but there is just nothing really going for Team Blue. You know, at a certain point, you know, with the score kind of looking like that, I know a lot of gamers and players kind of want to take that every man for themselves or kind of rethink a strategy. So I am very impressed that they did stick. You know, they did stick together. They did try to work something out, but you know, what can you do on certain plays like that? You know.
So, oh gosh, I had to like double take on the name there. It's Twinkies. That is the. I would love to see that name on a trophy somewhere.
I would
That
love
would
to see
be
that
that would
one
be
too, all
great.
caps and everything.
Yeah, all caps. I honestly want to see what would a Twinkies jersey look like.
Would you go
Would it
like the
just look?
colorway of the candy wrapper? I'm assuming like the brown and maybe the words be like red and white or something. I don't know how to approach
I
that
don't.
one.
Who owns Twinkies? What company owns Twinkies? Whoever it is,
I don't,
sponsor your Marvel Rivals team. Honestly, it would be pretty cool. Oh man,
I
that would
would
be pretty
cop
cool.
that jersey to be honest with you. Right there on the logo, right there. A lot of NBA jerseys and sport jerseys do a lot of partnerships. It was kind of random. I saw the LA Clippers have a Bumble patch on there. That's pretty cool. You don't really see that on there.
Smuckers owns Twinkies. Smuckers. You need to contact these people. Get on that. That would be a great sponsorship. A
Oh,
Smuckers
Smuckers,
sponsorship
do
for
I have a guy
the
for
sports
you?
team would be amazing. But that is going to be first game in the bag. Twinkie's going to take that one away. And as we move forward into game two, still, it's going to be a pretty rapid pace here. But we will take a short break before we get into round two while the next team gets set up and ready. Don't go away, anybody. You're watching the Nova GG Cosmic Cup for the month of May for Marvel Rivals. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into the Nova GG Cosmic Cup for Marvel Rivals for the month of May. My name is Chase of Spades, and if you just joined us, welcome in, of course. I am happy to have you alongside my co-caster, Mike. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. Thank you to have you here. Excuse me. Thank you for being here. Just getting a little excited for this matchup. Yeah, it's second one. I'm ready to rock and roll. The first one was tons of fun. Hope you guys are gonna enjoy the show. I'm with you first time. Hey, first time with you. So let's get it rolling.
Why you gotta make me laugh like that, man?
Sorry, I was trying to save myself right there somehow.
That was so funny. Okay, so look at, oh man. So we had the first batch of matches already come and go. So taking a look at the general leaderboard right now, obviously there's not a whole lot of difference quite yet, because we have but Twinkies, Navy Falcon, Marvel Rivals A, Marvel Rivals B for Lacey and Tulsa respectively, and Contender along with Cornelius all sitting at 1 win. Well, so they will be moving forward in the bracket. 2 wins for our top 2 teams right now, Twinkies and Navy Falcons, both sitting at 2 map wins. So, definitely kind of the team to watch right now would be those 2. But, of course, that's not putting anyone out yet. So it's super interesting to see kind of like, how generally things are going to go. We only got to, obviously watch and cast over one of those, so we kind of got to pick and choose how we're going about it. But this next one should be on Empire of Wakanda, and should also be Domination. And we're, Domination is just like the go-to thing right now, yeah?
Yeah, I feel like Domination's a normal, cool style. You can never go wrong with that game style, game format. I personally like Domination, so I'm excited to see how these teams approach this style. Like you said, yeah, it looks like we're going to be on Wakanda out there for the map. Really fun map. I like to mess around and just kind of like get a feel for it, so we'll see which team is going to take that approach. Let's see which team is going to choose which characters, which teams are going to ban which characters, so I'm excited for all this.
So just like in general, yeah, I know we only got to actually observe or spectate one match. What do you think is kind of like, what would you say is like the go-to strategy at the moment that mainly people just need to keep in mind whenever we are talking about like going into this next batch of matches?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I really like that question you asked, just because with being on the Wakanda map, it really is going to determine how a lot of teams are going to approach their style. I think a lot of teams like to be very aggressive and kind of just bombard each other right in the middle. Are we going to see a lot of teams choose a lot of flight characters to take advantage in the air? So it all really just depends on the map and the player strategy and the characters, but I think for surely there's going to be a lot of aggressive moves. If we see a lot in our first match that a lot of teams get cornered in one spot, and it doesn't look too good for that one corner team. So I'm excited to see which team might see who's going to be aggressive to corner which team's going to come in the middle. And as they get the ban in right here, we'll see how it all turns out.
So we're going to be observing currently on the blue team, Amazing Gamer, Fade, Surprise, Spider, Keijo, and Happy Ducks. And then on the red side of things, you got, Frisco Falcons 2 and 3.
I guess Frisco Falcons went home early. Nah. I was gonna say, I'm so glad it's you reading these names because, oh man, I'm just a simple Mike Wazowski 209 guy, like KJo99, Happy Ducks, Moom _ FRPC. It's always a good thing and a funny thing to see, when you get killed or wiped out in the game, and it's like killed by Mike Wazowski, or killed by, you know what I mean?
I do like Starship. That's pretty cool. That's a cool name.
Actually, yeah, Starship.
We actually have an esports player on our Super Smash team that's called Spider. So Spider kind of clicks with it. Happy Ducks is kind of funny. I do like Happy Ducks. That's nice. But
Happy Ducks.
Pick your hero.
So we're getting through generic ban phase. Now we're starting to go through picks. Okay, so it actually looks like they're going kind of for a similar setup, honestly. So Spider-Man on both teams, you got Doctor Strange on both teams. You do have double tank However, one is going to be Emma, the other one opting to go for Venom with Moon.
Yeah.
I'm going to see a support switch there, but in general, pretty similar playstyles and setup for this one. So
I'm really liking the character choices too. Yeah, I really like how Team Blue got a lot of flight characters. You know, with Iron Man, I think the Strange is over there. Yeah, they got a lot of good flight characters on actually both sides. I'm really excited to see how they're gonna approach for Red with Venom on that side. You know, he's a very tanker, very aggressive character we see. So we'll see how they do it all together. I think you got Iron Fist right next to him. We know how deadly his punches can be, literally and metaphorically. So yeah, we'll see how this one goes.
So again, super simple setup. There's a point in the middle. The goal for both teams is to get there, control the point for the allotted time, which you can see up there at the top of your screen up there. So it's going to unlock in just about 20 seconds. You see red team already starting to get some of that high ground here, which is a pretty good strategy. There is high ground on both sides of the field. No one's really using tremendous range characters, but you already see a pick there from Frisco with Spider-Man.
Right.
Able to just go ahead and just sneak up into that back line.
Yeah, that was a really good one right there. That's a good way to start the matchup right there. You know, you're feeling good about yourself. Well, at least if you're red, you're feeling good about yourself. Blue kind of coming in a little discouraged right now, but it's still very early. As we can see, it looks like red's kind of holding that point right there. And it looks like, yeah, we'll see red holding it down right there. Blue, still early. We can see some choices being changed over there. I think we see Storm now join the fight with Keijo, so hope we can get something going over there.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they're kind of maybe trying to switch to a bit more AoE effect, which is area of effect. Which basically just means they're trying to do a little bit more group damage versus direct damage. That would probably be the go-to, but right now they're still kind of sticking to direct or hit scan characters, so essentially where you click is where you hit, but it's basically built for like one-to-one fights. But right now, Strange is kind of up front.
On Strange action right here, yeah.
Yeah, but he's by himself, which is going to lead to his downfall. So, I mean, we were discussing it before about, like, what's the big difference between, like, 5v5 versus 6v6. Now, I will say one of the biggest things that both teams need to keep in mind is that open line of communication. Now, seeing, like, pretty much most of red team dip past Doctor Strange and get into the back line, I thought maybe we would see you know, maybe like a bit of a calm difference there. They would be like, hey, you know, there's people in our back line, which would cause Strange to fall back. But he held down right here. It just seems like maybe a bit of overextension is the issue.
Yeah, it's not really looking too good. I totally agree with you on that one. As we see red approaching to 85, it looks like right there. Yeah, 85%. Yeah, I was really hoping, like, you know, someone will come in from the side or just maybe come in with a different approach with a different style. But there is just, it just looked like a very kind of poor side if you're a blue, man. But hey, it's the first match, first fight, so.
You had Amazing come on in with Spider-Man. Oh, wait, I get it now. It's Amazing Gamer, the Amazing Spider-Man. It was all a ruse.
What a pun right there. What a pun right there. Yeah, because I was like, oh my god, yeah.
I didn't even notice.
I like that, but I don't like how I have to think too much. But yeah, Amazing Gamer, Amazing Spider. I'm liking that.
But I mean, he did what he could. He tried to contest on point, hopped on point, popped the ult. Did manage to get Mantis, but I mean, you're a 1 versus 4. There's not really too much you can do to win that one.
Yeah.
But he did good. Tried to get on the point, get that contestation. Just didn't really. You need a bit more speed from everyone else, but that was just kind of like is what it is. So 10 seconds. It's all right. You're right though. It was match 1 or round 1 of match 1. Trying to just kind of feel it out, see what's happening.
Yeah, so now I like this though, because now you got a fresh start, fresh mind for both sides. So we'll see how this one really turns out. But you got to be feeling confident if you're red. You know, having Venom out there, having Strange out there, Fizz, and then also having Mantis as a. I really like them having Mantis out there, just because having a healer with those tanks and aggressive characters, you can't go wrong with just having a healer and stuff like that. And don't ever sleep on Mantis. She could really like do some damage to as well. Utilize her right, which we see she's kind of taking up a little. Oh, never mind. Way to hold it down. Or
So
I think that was her that took down Moon Knight.
So realistically, I mean, Moon Knight was definitely a decent pick to switch off from Spider-Man. Emma Frost, same difference, being able to bring up that other tank to kind of maybe hold down the fort just a little bit more. But Dragon is just really formidable against tanks up in close quarters. So, I mean, overall though, a much better push from Blue.
However, a lot more better than what we saw.
Now, I will say it maybe made Red just kind of like take a step back just a little bit. They lost a couple of people. They did have to use one of their ults, which was from Mantis. Which I would like to say also separately. Good work on Red for holding on to their ult economy. Being able to, not do what pretty much, most traditional players do, which is as soon as you get the ult, just try to find like the nearest spot to use it. Holding on to it for when you need it is extraordinarily important. Gonna see that ult come out there from Strange though. Just try to do a little bit more damage and it definitely is gonna do that.
Yeah. A little something, but I mean, you can only go a long ways with that one. I was really hoping Blue would make that push right there in the middle, but Red was ready for them. I actually felt like Blue kind of took a while. They were at the 25% mark, and then when they finally made their move, they were at the 40% mark. Not really a good approach if you're Blue, in my opinion. But let's see if they kind of make some desperate move as we reach 70. Really not looking too good of a sight right now. As we see Strange just hold it down.
Yeah, Amazing was able to is gonna use their ult, and that will do a decent amount of damage, trying to get just something to go there for Venom, but Venom has so much health, it's just not gonna be enough necessarily to get him. But you do have Surprise trying to do a little bit of damage. They are managing to get in. They really need those heals though right now, but you just had too much congestion out the back line again. Between Spider-Man and Fist, it pretty much just able to jump behind the back line, get rid of your supports.
I did kind of, I get exactly what you're saying. Sorry to interrupt you on that one, but I did kind of like that approach by Blue by sending everyone and having Jeff and the Shark sending him back and just kind of spawning that attack on him, but I guess it wasn't really too enough.
So, that is going to be a victory with the MVP being Frisco. I think for number 2, I'm just gonna say Frisco, and I'm gonna say Falcons for 3. I feel like that's a pretty
I like that approach too. I was like, oh, Frisco 3 did good too. Oh yeah, he was right behind him. It looks like
FF2, FF3. But overall, though, I mean, I will say though a little less eliminations than the last one, but that's nothing to again to scoff at. 4,000 damage is really, really good. Had almost 7,000 heals for Starship and Banzo. That's really good. And then up on the top end, I mean, honestly, Happy Ducks was hardcore pulling their weight on the support. 5 almost equal healing, more so actually than one of the red team healers. So I mean, they weren't necessarily they weren't doing anything like poor at all. I think it was just like the difference in map assignment and kind of just the overall general vibe. But overall, that is going to be the Navy Falcons pushing up to 2 wins. Same thing with Tulsa, and they will also push up to 2. So in total, the Navy Falcons are sitting at the top pretty comfortably with 2 map wins ahead of 2nd and 3rd place. So it should be pretty interesting to see how it goes next time around. Of course, though, you can't really forget about
So you see your Twinkies fall to 3rd place right now. Sorry, Twinkies.
Fuckers still getting contact. Lacey though is going to be hanging out there. But I mean, like overall, I really just think I think the swap for the heroes pretty good choice. I think it was just overall just they had the mobility to just keep dipping into that back line, get rid of the supports, and at that point you're on your own. The early game of only having 1 tank probably ended up in kind of a just not the best circumstances for him. But picking up on that was a good bit of game sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm really glad you brought that up about switching characters because Amazing Gamer on Team Blue, we know we started him off with Spider-Man. I really like that change going into Moon Knight. As you can look at his numbers, he was kind of putting some type of edge for them. You know, his damage is at 5,000. I mean, you know, you can't go wrong with that type of performance. But yeah, I really like what you said on that one. Switching characters was a really great approach, but just having Venom and honestly just having two characters like going 16-0, 11-0 was very hard to deal with being on the other side of that, you know? And heck, if that's how FF2 and FF3 play, I don't want to play against FF1, man, because those stats, great job, guys. Great job for both ends, really.
Well, all right then. So that was game two, at least for us, out of the way. We're gonna step aside while they finish up some of their other matches, and we'll be right back right here for the Nova GG Cosmic Cup for Marvel Rivals for May, and we will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into the Nova GG Cosmic Cup for Marvel Rivals. Currently, we have a pretty decent lineup so far. Already had a couple of games completed. And like just overall, it's been pretty solid performance on all parties involved. But there are a couple who have been really shining recently. Got a couple of teams to watch. Definitely should be interesting to see how they actually, wrap this one up. I mean, so far, like, what have you noticed, man?
I'm excited. I see we got the return for Team A. Happy Ducks over there. Fade's back. Keijo's back. I was watching them, I believe, our first matchup, so I'm excited to see some improvements, see how they're gonna approach this matchup. I hope the team's holding up okay. I'm about to go pull up their stats, but I'm excited to see how they approach a lot more. I know at the beginning when I saw them, they weren't really too established at the moment. They had kind of a little miscommunication, or I would like to think a little miscommunication on their end. So let's say I like to shoot some hope for them. I know it's going to be a little tricky, as they see in the maps over here. It's going to be at the Royal Palace over there, and I know that was actually voted, or I seen a lot as voted as one of the worst maps to play at. So let's see how they approach it. I'm excited for this one. As always, I'm excited to see how the players do, what strategies we're going to see, which characters are going to be banned and chosen. So yeah, let's ready to roll.
Absolutely. And just in general, I mean, in total, I mean, I've seen a lot of similar team compositions for the most part, and it's kind of interesting to see the difference between them. By which I mean the lack of difference between them. It's kind of interesting to see the difference between like how the actual playstyle goes, based upon just the fact that they, don't have a different team composition, but their strategy of how they use it is different.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree on that one, and I also want to backtrack that. I'm surprised a lot of characters aren't really going in since they have an additional 6v6. We were talking about them utilizing that additional player. I'm surprised a lot of teams aren't really utilizing a lot more like tanks and heavy hitters. The last matchup we saw, I think we saw Venom, Doctor Strange, Iron Fist, and I think I'm miscorrected, but I believe a Spider-Man was also in there. Like, just already right off of that bat right there, you gotta have a solid character choice. You gotta have a solid character that can match and at least tangle with them, or at least put up a fight. And I felt like there are a lot of teams that haven't really been strategizing too much of an ideal of a 6v6. So I'm excited to see, as the tournament goes on, we'll see more of an approach on which teams choose which characters now.
Well, I guess we'll just have to see how it actually, turns out and rounds out. So, like, if you were in their position, right? I mean, I know we can't obviously speak for exact team compositions. I mean, you can't really predict the future or anything. But if you were to, just take a flying guess, right? What do you think you've seen happen with other teams that maybe somebody, should be watching out for?
Well, looking at the the stat list, we see Twinkies is taking the lead back up there on the map wins at 3. XPL Navy Falcons, they're back up there on the map wins with 4. So I really feel like as we get more in depth with this tournament, we're gonna see a lot more strategy play on every team side as we look for a solid push up there. As we see Marvel Rivals, Tulsa is on 3rd right there, not too far of a tangle fight for them. So I feel like we'll most definitely be seeing a lot more character choices on these teams right here, and more of analysis depth on it, and I really think it's going to play out on the map as well. Not many people really consider that as well, but playing here at Royal Palace, from my personal experience, I've had a lot of pain in the butts, and a lot of poor strategic choices can go down. Like, you don't want to go too cornered in here, as we see it's going to be on domination. So I think with this map, you want to take control of that point and just hold your ground. So we'll see which characters get to choose which heavy hitters, or which characters might choose some aerial flight characters and take strategy. I haven't seen that too much from a lot of teams, taking a lot of like flight characters to take advantage of their opponents. I feel like with this type of strategy game, being of PvP and everything, you want to use a lot more flight characters to your advantage. If done correctly, you could do a lot of damage with them.
We see like in Overwatch they have like dive setups or brawler setups. What do you think is like kind of like? I mean, I agree with you. I've pretty much seen like pretty much a lot of heavy hitters, usually frontline combatants, is usually the hero lineup here. Maybe a couple of differences, usually like, Spider-Man, for an example, is pretty mobility based, but haven't, I mean, I see 2 Iron Mans now, but we haven't been seeing Iron Man pretty much at all. But also, like, what about in the realms of like supports?
I'm glad you brought that up because round supports, I really thought a character that could be used really definitely was Hela. Like, we see as a strong take, she has a high survivability and ability to peel for like teammates, which can really help a lot of teams. So I'm really excited to see some teams can really take advantage of certain characters. Like I said, I think Hela would be a really great choice for a lot of teams right now if you want to start off with a dominant win approach, especially being here as a game style of domination. So we'll really just all see. I'm excited to see a lot more character use of Venom and a lot of other soldiers like Groot. You can't go wrong with Groot. So I think we'll be seeing characters chosen right now. Or as they're still on the banning section. But yeah, sure. I really hope certain characters are being used at the moment. Like I said, you can't go wrong with Hela. I am excited. I can't wait for someone to kind of use some certain characters to kind of pick up a little strategy going in.
Well, I guess we'll just have to see if maybe maybe they actually had some time to talk about it and discuss and, see just in general what we can do for this one. I guess we'll see in about next 15 seconds. So, I mean, just in general, like looking at what they have pre-selected right now, yeah. I'm seeing same old Doctor Strange. I'm seeing Emma. Iron Man and Spider-Man definitely seem to be a bit of a man, but I'm seeing like Mr. Fantastic. I haven't seen him for a little bit. I'm seeing some Scarlet. I mean, just in general, it seems like we're having a little bit of a different composition, but
yeah. Speaking of characters, I'm excited to see what other characters are going to be added additionally to this game. I know there's been a lot of rumors of, I believe I'm mistaken, Blade and all those guys for the next season coming up. So I'm excited to see how those new characters are additionally added to this. I know it's kind of a side subject, but hey, since we're talking about characters, might as well start talking about the new ones coming in, right?
Right. I mean, like, just in general, like, the characters that they have in the game right now, they have a wide variety. I'm pretty sure correct me if I'm wrong, I can't remember, are they the same amount of characters, or just slightly under Overwatch right now?
I think slightly Overwatch characters right now. I mean, as I play these characters on my end, I notice a lot of similarities in styles. I notice a lot of mobility with certain characters. So, like I said, for me, when I first hopped on it, I immediately thought of Overwatch and those those games over there. So, I mean, we'll really have to just see on that one as they're really taking their time on deciding which characters are going to be banned and not.
I mean, yeah, this is a little bit longer of a ban phase than I'm used to.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like we're kind of sticking with the same ones we were pre-selecting. We did see a switch from Amazing Spider-Man, over back to Moon Knight.
I was about to mention that, yeah. I see he's back to Moon Knight over there. I think Amazing Gamer is pretty good with mobility characters. This isn't the first time we've seen him over there. Same with Happy Ducks. I think we've seen him as Cloak and Dagger before, so I'm not too sure if they changed up their style, but we'll have to see. I really like as Keijo back as Iron Man. He did pretty solid as a flight character. So we'll have to really see if he can stretch this one out as we see what it looks like. Well, we still got a few more seconds, but we got Shark, Moon Knight. Wow, okay, yeah. Oh, look, Happy Ducks. Oh, no, never mind. I believe that's Doctor Strange, Iron Man. Yeah, sorry, that little switcheroo. I was looking at the screen on me right there. But I'm excited.
Switch of a tank up to Groot. Do they have? Hang on.
Oh yeah.
I thought for a second they had. Yeah, so we're not gonna have Doctor Strange for Red. They're going to switch from Doctor Strange over to Groot. So that could be interesting.
I actually like that. If I'm Red, I'm feeling solid right now. I think they're gonna. I like that Iron Man and Groot right off the bat take the lead. If I'm Team Blue, I would look into getting a heavy hitter in there, or at least like a Venom or someone in there to compete with Groot. But we'll have to see right now as they approach that middle section of the map.
And it seems like you're going to get what you want about the some of the flying characters.
I'm excited to see which team can finally utilize some flight characters. We see Keijo take the lead over there. going to be very interesting to see him over there against the other Iron Man. Hey, come on, Cage. It's not how you want to start it off, but little minor setback, major comeback as we see Groot holding it down over there in the red. I'm really happy they went with Groot on the red side.
So that was a really good strategy being used by Groot. So if you notice, he put his wall side by side on a major entrance. What he's essentially doing is fatal funneling. So he's funneling them all into one point, and especially with a AoE damage character like Iron Man, basically doing a whole lot of like grenade-like blast damage. It's definitely able to do a whole lot of building for their ultimate, as well as just basically dish out as much damage as they can on the front end.
Yeah, great report on that. Yeah, I was literally about to mention that. I was like, I see Groot's building a little wall over there, but yeah, great analysis on that one. I really like to see if they're gonna hold it down, and which they really are. Like, they're gaining points, they're holding a set of skill right there. We see Strange is falling down. There we go.
Yeah, so they're starting to, you know, try to get maybe just a little bit more ground than what they were making before. And in general, it seems like they're holding down the point pretty good. So now basically Blue's whole thing is like, how are we going to get back? And you see the switch a little bit there, maybe going for more of a bit of a dive setup, opting to go for Hulk now. Oh wait, no, they were going for Hulk. Now they switch back to
going for it.
So really, at this point, we just kind of need to, like, you know, maybe be a little bit more consistent. You know, just decide on a strategy and basically just be like, hey, I'm kind of feeling like we should go like this way. And that's really where that team play starts to kind of drill in a little bit, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. That team play really took effect for Team Red over there. I really, like I said, I really like how they had a little strategy going on, especially for this type of map. You know, it's not really ranked as a good one, but when you hold down 2 points gone and make a team kind of make a tough decision on where to approach it, it's a really hard time to get around it. And as we're reaching that end, oh man, it's just, yeah.
So, I mean,
hey, I would want to be Team Red if I was on this game.
But I mean, like, just in general, not a bad showing by Blue. It pretty much just came down to, like, okay, so, like, Iron Man, for an example, really good pick. Not a bad, like, choice at all to go for more of a, how can you say it? Like a, I guess, like, an aggressive loadout. But Iron Man definitely is kind of like the go-to whenever it comes to blast damage. And realistically, you kind of need just a little bit more on the heal side, and you need an aggressive tank player or an aggressive Vanguard to kind of, you know, push just a little bit harder on it.
Yeah, because you most definitely want to have characters, especially if you're Team Blue, you want to go for characters that could offer not like contact to contact or like person to person where they need to get close damage to do effects. You want to maybe do a different approach with having characters that have long ranges. You know, we see Hawkeye would be maybe ideal one, but maybe not, because Groot's just a solid character for Team Red. That's because you could tell he's their main tank. He's the main point for Team Red, as he's actually taking the lead right now, or it looks like.
Yeah, and I mean, like,
Punisher.
Yeah, Punisher. And Groot isn't like a bad tank whatsoever. Groot actually has been pretty hard in the meta recently. Like, overall, though, they definitely seem to be kind of, you know, shifting a little bit of their weight. Blue is looking to be on the point first this time. So, actually, they're offering a pretty heavy contestation here. So, it should be pretty interesting to see if they can, you know, hold themselves out a little bit, start making some plays. So, I mean, like, overall, what, like, strategy for the push would you be using about right now?
I really liked how Blue had that had it for a little bit right in the middle. The only problem was that there was really no support. As you could tell for a minute, a lot of characters were kind of just all over, going up and down, side to side, as we see Team Red starting to implement their little side gigs. See, now you want to go in with a lot more strategy of up and down. Go up to distract some of the heavy hitters, but down to take away some of their side stuff. As we see Groot is building a wall over there, Punisher's holding it down. Oh, here we go. But like I said, you want to come up with more side.
Ooh, amazing with 2 there. Ooh. So yeah, they're starting to get some momentum, starting to gain a little bit of ground here, push their way onto site.
Exactly. I think they're finally communicating it. They might be seeing some type of hope, but it's just you got to be more consistent, more persistent on this one. You got to communicate and tackle right. Because Gru is just holding it down for them as he takes out Doctor Strange, it looked like.
Right. And, you know, Blue does actually get on site, finally getting some percentage there on their team there. Moon Knight has honestly been just really coming in clutch for their team. Amazing has
Shout
been
out
doing
to
a
Amazing
phenomenal
Gamer.
job.
Yeah, he's been playing a great job in this tournament. I'm actually very impressed and proud of this guy, or this young man right now. This is really great play right now. Look, he even got Blue on the board finally. Here we go, Blue. Now this guy really just hold it down. I'm liking the aggressive Amazing Gamer. Maybe help the guy, or maybe almost help the guy. But yeah, if Blue and his teammates, I need to see some energy from Fade, from Happy Ducks. I need to see Keijo a lot more in there. I need him to be more persistent covering the middle ground. And there goes Punisher, just holding it down on that side.
And honestly, Punisher is really good, especially, I mean, even though he is kind of stuck in that, you know, stationary position, he does
right
definitely know exactly, like, what he needs to do to channel what he needs to. So, like, he's holding it down, holding those very long angles, and just kind of
I'm really
tight.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that because exactly where he's positioned down the map, right there in that corner of their stairway, especially being on the red side, he could hold it down there pretty much the whole match, to be honest with you. He could get some easy kills, easy damage points. As you can see, Red's making that aggressive push. Great, actually planned by having Red have Punisher stay down and have Gru and everyone pretty much take that offensive. I see Emma Frost make that move over there. Like, really great plan right there by Team Red.
Absolutely. And, you know, you really got to start, like, at this point, kind of looking into maybe a little bit of late game play here of just like, so like, what's the actual plan? Like, what is our long-term goal here? And, you know, honestly, whenever you're starting to look at maybe a bit of ult economy, like, what's the game plan here? Like, honestly, if you're sitting here gaining this much percentage here, if you're on the red team, I'm honestly surprised they haven't decided to kind of move their way a little bit, maybe a bit more passively, and decide to kind of build those ults, go for a retake, lock down that last 2%, and call it a day.
Yeah, because I'm glad you mentioned that. You know, I'm sure, you know, if you're Team Blue, take as much energy and momentum as you can right now, because Team Red, like you said, they're not too far away from victory. I'm really glad we saw some aggressive moments from Team Blue, but I felt like Team Red was just too much of a planned out team, that they kind of took that effective and stuck to the plan. As we see a really strong last minute push by Red, actually. Guess I might be eating my own words for dinner, guys, as they're really making that push right now.
I mean, hey, that's kind of what you got to do for it.
You got to do it right. Yeah, there we go. But Emma Frost just took the lead on that one. Great play by Microphone. Oh, maybe I'm too soon on that?
So 99%, 92. It's really going to come down right to the wire here. Right. If they can bring it into overtime, and they won't be able to, and that will go to the red team for game 2. Oh man, that was a really good showing though.
Both teams came out very aggressive. I thought actually both teams came out with really good plans, but as we said, that red team, they did great decision making with the player choice. I am really a big fan of having Punisher right there. I think having Punisher right there was a very solid move right there for to secure Team Red's victory.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
18, yeah. Here we go. Yeah, it's Team Blue, Amazing Gamer. Yeah, 20 for 6, Amazing Gamer on that side. I saw definitely improvement on that one.
He definitely had some wide improvement on that one, and I'm honestly like, that was just impressive, just in general. Like, wow. 17, like going from 5 to 17 is such a huge improvement.
Oh, tremendously. Yeah, man, I props to that young man right there. I really wish we saw a little more support from Fade, and as I really, like I said, this team, their first matchup we saw, I thought they most definitely all improved, but for this type of team and the way that Team Red came in, you really got to come in with a lot more approach, as you need to have everyone come in and be more aggressive. As we, like that last minute push, I needed that energy and game plan we had right there from the start of that, which we probably could have seen Team Blue at least took in this round maybe, but Team Red, that stats, shout out to you guys on that team over there. Man, 11 for 8, 11 for 3, 14 for 7. Sometimes what can you do with that, you know?
Yeah, but again, that's going to put it up to 4 wins for Twinkies. Again,
Yes.
Schmuckers, man, getting contact. These guys are on a roll. But I mean,
Twinkies, man.
you still gotta like give credit where credit's due. The other team did not do like bad at all. That was honestly a really good back and forth fight. They managed to make honestly a really surprising comeback from pretty much the brink, and it was just extremely impressive to watch. That one was kind of a nail biter, but I mean, yeah, that's pretty much all she wrote on that one. Do you got anything else for it?
No, like honestly, I have to say, like I said, props to these two teams right here. This is probably the most honestly fun matchup we've seen today, really. But honestly, great play for both teams. I'm excited to see which team comes out victorious. I'm really happy Twinkies came up on the lead on that one, holding it down number one. I'm excited to see which matchups are next, and yeah, if I would love to be Team Red if I was in this tournament, as we see Team Red kind of just floating its way this whole series.
So, if you had to pick an MVP for the tournament thus far, who would you go with?
Honestly, my MVP, oh, that's a really tough one. I'm really loving FF2, FF3, those performance numbers, especially FF2 over there. I'm not sure if the people saw our second matchup, but FF2 numbers, the way his style, the way his character was chosen, his numbers speak up the way he plays. I have to give it to him. But as a fan favorite, I'm going with Amazing Gamer '09. Tremendous work, young man. Great improvement, man. You can The numbers speak for themselves. Watching you play, kind of holding it down, giving your team some light. Great work, young man. Just don't keep your head down, keep it up, and we'll see how it goes for you.
All right. Well, for the time being, I believe that's going to pretty much wrap it up for this one. So, Twinkies holding on to that top spot for right now, and we'll have to see how it goes. But we will take a break, and we will be right back right here for the Nova GG Cosmic Cup for Marvel Rivals. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into the Nova GG Cosmic Cup for Marvel Rivals. We just finished our third matchup of the day, at least that we got to, witness. But obviously there's been matches going on all day long. Super excited to be casting this next matchup here. You got Luke, Liz, Killer Kenwa, the new NY Giants. We got New York, the whole state.
Yeah, New York's in the building. Yeah, shout out to New York. Good luck out there, Knicks.
Shout out to New York. Lucaru, I think we saw Lucaru earlier in the Fortnite gameplay.
That name sounds familiar. Yeah, I believe that player's returning right here. Yeah.
Yeah, Platinum 3 in this one. He is level 55. What a guy. Huntington. Wrapping up for Team B. On Team A, you got Junko, Starship, Moom, Frisco 3 and 2, and then Band. So it should be pretty interesting to see how they actually go about it. Looking at the overall standings right now, we are kind of tied up, getting close to it though. Of course, Tulsa just one map down though. So Twinkie's still sitting on top, 3 wins, 4 map wins. Comparatively to Tulsa, sitting at 3 wins, and the Navy Falcons at 2 wins. So overall, though, should be pretty interesting.
I think this matchup will be interesting. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, just because, as you could tell right here off the standings with Navy Falcons and, of course, Go Meet, this is a kind of a little must-win for both of them, as I think both of them are both at 2 wins and 1 losses, although XPL Navy Falcons does have that higher map win percentage. I think this is going to be a really good matchup just because of how close the standings are with how, like, everything this tournament's going, as, like you said, Twinkies and Marvel Rivals, man, 3-0 right now, holding it down. So I think this is going to be a really great game just because it's going to be a must-win for really both teams right now. I'm excited. As we can see, Navy Falcons brought their coach with them. So we'll see how this strategy teams up, as it's going to be held at Hydra's base over there in Hell's Heaven. I think this is going to be a good map for these both teams, the way they both been playing. I'm excited for the return of FF2 and FF3. I think we saw them on our second game, the people that weren't here for us, so that'll be a fun one for everyone.
It should be pretty interesting to see, just like in general, how it actually is going to go, especially whenever you're talking about, again, like the team lineups have been relatively similar, but I'm curious what these upcoming teams are going to adjust, because I mean, we just saw in the last game, all it took was like a quick lineup change, and they almost brought it back from like 0 to 98, and they almost brought it all the way back up to an overtime match point. I mean, all from just switching like 2 characters. So I'm curious, especially with there being ban phases and everything, how they're actually going to compete in this one.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. And it's also fair to mention, I believe I'm looking at it right, it looks like Navy Falcons just actually came off of a loss. So right now, I'm sure heads are kind of spinning right now. Talks are being said between the players right now, trying to see how you really want to approach this matchup right here. And I really think that's going to be vital for the Navy Falcons. It's really going to determine who they want to be as a team right now, who they really want to projectile in the next future rounds, if they want to see a really aggressive team from themselves. Really, you really just want to come off with the win in this round. You don't want to come off with a shaky head right now. So as this match gets heading its way over there, I'm excited to really see Navy Falcons and Go Meet really go at it over there. Sounds kind of weird saying out loud, but yeah, these two teams, they'll be most definitely fun to watch.
So, like, just in general, right? We were talking about a little bit earlier. We were being asked about like MVPs and whatnot. Like, who do we think is kind of like the one to be watching for this next matchup?
Yeah, we were talking about that. I'm really excited to honestly see the return of FF2, just because his performance last matchup we saw was really great. Honestly, it's fair to even give him a mention on the MVP category of a player that's really good to watch out there. His play style, I'm not sure if there's like a little sibling duo connection over there with him in 3 and 2 over there. I'm just going off the names, but I think FF2 is most definitely a player to watch out for. But for Team Go Me, I want to say, to be honest with you, New York Giants over there, they have a lot of good platinum players, but I do remember Giants over there was pretty solid for that team, especially Luke. Correct me if I'm saying it wrong. Lucuro? Lukiro, he was pretty solid for that player right there. So I'm excited to see how these teams and those players individually perform for this matchup as we kind of reach closer to sort of semi at the end of this tournament as we get right ahead of right here. So yeah.
So personally, like it's something we keep seeing on Domination. The main thing that I feel like everyone typically has been maybe a little lacking definitely seems to be. It seems like everyone can lock down DPS pretty well. I mean, obviously, I understand that DPSs are usually supposed to get the most eliminations. We saw a really good Mantis play earlier today, but honestly, you gotta kind of lean in to your vanguards and your supports just a little more. It seems like every time we get into an engagement, you know, the best thing about this game in comparison to, let's say, something we talked about earlier today, which was like Fortnite. Fortnite is definitely a lot more, even though the team play is important, it does competitively tend to lean into personal accuracy skill and including, like, you know, building and whatnot. This game, though, is like, yes, hit scanning, for an example, is obviously extremely skill-based, but there are a lot of options in this game where you can be like probably the most game-changing person on the team by leading your comrades in, or by giving everyone that one boost of heals that they needed so they can pop an ultimate. Like, it's a lot more, I guess, team-oriented as a full team than individual-based.
There's really no... Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you said that. There's really no iron team in these matchups. Like you said, both teams, or a lot of teams we've seen, kind of lack like that little bit of an edge on that supporter right there. Kind of hence that we're talking about adding that sixth player. You know, a lot of teams, they could utilize a lot of strategies. You know, we've seen a lot of heavy hitters come in. We've seen a lot of more aerial flight characters being used. Mantis was obviously, and her and Doctor Strange were obviously fan favorite characters. So I feel like with those having those moments, those are when you want to utilize your sixth player for that character's advantage. But you also want to rely on that player's performance as well. We've seen a lot of players use mobility characters, but however, weren't really leading the strike or weren't really utilizing that character as well. Vice versa with heavy tank characters. We've seen characters were Groot. We've seen characters that were actually Venom, but were immediately fallen. Moon Knight was falling pretty quick. So I feel like it's all going to depend on how characters and these teams are going to utilize their advantage for stuff like that. As we see the teams are finally, or not finally, getting ready to pick their team selection. I really like how a lot of teams utilize the band selection. I really like that, how like, from the beginning of the tournament, it went from being quick to now we're seeing a lot more determination and thought into which characters, okay, we're just not going to deal with that character. We don't want to deal with that headache to deal with our strategy, you know?
Which I have noticed that, like, it seems like a couple of players are a little befallen because of that. Like, for an example, one of the bans there was Luke on Spider-Man, and Spider-Man is, I believe, is pretty much their, like, go-to because they were hesitant for a long time to kind of be like, oh, man, who do I play now? But that is like the mental portion of the ban phase and why it is so important.
Oh, as you can see on Team Red over there with, I believe that looks like it might be Hella finally. I was actually mentioning Hella to you earlier on how I'm surprised a lot of characters haven't utilized her like potential and her powers and her abilities for this type of tournament. Especially with the game styles, how a lot of teams kind of rush into a certain spots to kind of categorize their plots. As we reach that countdown, and looks like we are underway now. By the way, I love the skin on Hella.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But just in general, 20 seconds till the point does unlock. Of course, you got Venom kind of leading the way here alongside Thor. Try to see, like, generally how this first combat's going to go. Okay, so once again, we see exactly what we were talking about. Venom dipping into that backline to block off the supports from getting to their vanguards. I mean, like, right now, Moon Knight already went down pretty quick there. But pretty even battle right now. Healer's doing a magnificent job there, keeping their Emma up in the fight right now.
Yeah, I really
Good
like
hit
the
there on Thor. Get rid of the tank. Beautiful.
That's
hit.
really what I was about to mention. Yeah, you don't want Thor in there, as the blue makes her move to hold red right in that position room right there. I'm really glad on that. As Emma Frost recharges right there. Shout out to her dub teammates right there.
Yeah, that was
I
absolutely.
want to see, yeah, I want to see more approaches like that. I know we were talking about having certain players like that, like plays like that goes long ways because not only did you establish a momentum, you established a dominance in that. As you can see, Red's kind of having their hard time getting out of that room right there. They're just holding it down. All right, here we go. I think we're
Absolutely,
finding
and you got, yeah,
now.
there you go. Good pushback from GM. Definitely doing a whole lot of work there. Luke, MVP of that push with Magneto. Oh, pull off the corner! Like Shoko.
Wow, that's
Good use of Spider-Man, man. Just being able to pull him off, just like, yeet. That's mine.
yay.
So good. Okay. So, we're being informed that there's a bit of a tech issue with the game. So there was an issue with the pick ban phase. No big deal. Restart. Easy little
Yeah.
thing. Now I will say,
Easy little-
now I will be honest, right? Between the Falcons and GM, right? These are two pretty high stake teams right now, and they pretty much both just got a feel for each other. Even if, like, it doesn't start you back exactly where you just were.
Exactly. I'm glad
like-
you said it just like that. Yeah, just because like with these moments, I know it's like so random. They're like, whoa, what just happened? But when these moments happen, these teams could utilize this moment to kind of like you said, now that we've seen their play style, now we see which character is pretty good. Now that we see how they're going to come at us, now is our time to deflect. Here's our time to get at it, and here we go.
And some people could, I mean, they have in the past for sure. Definitely been like, hey, like, what's the deal? Because this happened, now, like, we have less of a chance of, like, coming away with this. Now they know what we're doing. But you kind of got to, like, flip the card on the other way around and basically be like, well, no, you know what we're doing. So it kind of puts you essentially back at square one. It doesn't really change too awful much. So I know some people might be like, oh, man, like, that seems a little, like, favoritism. Not really. I mean, everyone just kind of knows what was going to happen now. So
Exactly. You never know. I like how you say it just like that, because some people might think like, oh man, they're up to something, or hey, you know what I mean? We had a good momentum. Like you just broke our whole plan right now.
I will say I can understand how it might maybe break a little bit of momentum up, but just overall though, like, if anything, use it as a kind of like a poke moment, as they call it in the Overwatch scene. Like, you're able to poke your enemy, get a vibe for what they're going for, build up a little bit of momentum yourself, and in some ways you could. I mean, they could do nothing. They could keep with their strategy and do nothing. They could change it, but you could also be considering doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fair to also mention sometimes too, when these moments happen, obviously the arena changes, the map changes. So now it's not only, you're losing momentum for the other team, you lose momentum of how you want to position players, how you want to send your heavy hitters this way, your flights that way, you know what I mean? Or send your healers around this corner to present yourself. And top it all off, I don't think we're seeing domination for this round. It looks like they're going to change the game style to convergence as well. So
I think that's
feel
just
like
because they're waiting on the team to hop in.
Oh,
I think
okay. Excuse me then, guys. But yeah, I feel like with stuff like that, you want to consider it,
But I mean, overall, not like a huge deal. But in general, right? Like, let's talk about like just game strategy as a whole. Now, me and you have played Marvel Rivals for a little bit. We kind of understand the general thing. But even if we haven't maybe like played it, we definitely understand the tactical prowess that comes behind it. So like what we were talking about, like momentum. What does like momentum in a game like this mean to you?
I feel like a momentum in a game like this, it kind of really means a lot, especially coming into this tournament and this round, the scenario, especially how Go Meat just came off in the last round with the dub and Navy Falcons came in with the loss, because it really does just kind of approach like Navy Falcons. They're not coming in with heels on the edge, but they're most definitely coming in with an assertive of an aggressive to attack. Now, however, speaking on to that, Navy Falcons wasn't already really looking too solid out there. So thankfully, you would like to think, hey, this little timeout, this little brief interaction exchange right here will give us some type of momentum to build up from. But I just think right now, it's just going to be kind of hard to kind of build that momentum again. You want to come in mentally focused and sharp and stick to your plan. But You know, you can only go so far on how much you prepare for that.
So I mean, yeah, but
Yeah.
like in general, like we're talking about like so whenever you come to like a push, right? So it seems like that seems to be like a lot of issues that we keep seeing, and this is for everyone, uh, is the initial push seems to be issue number one. Number two is enemies getting in your backline and then knowing when to reset or fall back. So on the initial push, like what do you think a team needs for an initial push?
I think a team for initial push, like you gotta come in like clearly strategize and plan. Like for that initial push, I feel like we actually haven't seen too much of it. Like we've seen it happen, but it never really turns out on the favor of the team pushing. However, teams going back into the team's backline, that's happened a lot in this tournament. We've seen a lot of teams. I believe our last matchup actually, I believe we saw Groot on the back line right there building walls and having Punisher in the back corner just taking out enemies right there. I feel like having the enemies in the back line's a lot more of a move you want to do than making more of an aggressive push in the middle. But however, if you did want to make that aggressive push in the middle, I'm still standing on having your two heavy hitters and having aerial flight characters to come up from above just to crash that one pinpoint at the moment. And having that crash helps you pinpoint and helps you elaborate a plan on how you want to approach that field of entry. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, whenever you're talking about, we were talking about momentum, is that like you're setting the pace. Is that if you hop onto site first, it forces them to recommit. Like you either have to commit to the push or you have to commit to defending against the push, which is a similar thing in other competitive games such as Overwatch. Usually if you have a brawler, you either have to like commit to a dive or, you know, maybe reset a little bit. If you are on a dive setup, you kind of have to recommit to a brawler. And it can be a little conflicting because, you know, it requires you to be more of a flex. And especially, you know, something that I will say is pretty common, especially in tournaments like this, is everyone tends to have a main. Flexes are not really very common. So if you have a player or a group of players that are able to be flexes and basically swap between characters and be proficient, you're pretty much like already in a higher echelon.
Yeah, you're most definitely in a great position. I'm glad you said it just like that. Just because, like, when you come in with either aggressive push or aggressive feedback, it usually depends on which player or which team has their player fall first. Because usually when the player falls first, it's usually their mainer coming in, and usually when that team mainer falls down, the team plan falls apart. As we see a lot of teams push after that one, and it's more of teams are cornering certain teams in certain rooms, certain weird angles where they can't use their character skills to their advantage, you know? So I feel like with that, we'll be able to see that a lot more as we let's say we get taken away for round 2 for part 1.
Yeah, try again.
That's probably a good way to summarize it. Yeah, we'll redo on that one, but yeah.
Luckily, it happened at like the beginning of the match, right? Whenever like the point barely even opened.
You're right there on the overtime. Oh, we're gonna reset it, guys. No.
But it should be pretty interesting to see how this works. Now, again, one of the biggest issues that every team usually has also been having has been people getting in the back line. Spider-Man is extremely good for getting in people's backlines. Venom, also really good for getting in people's backline. Like, you really have to basically commit to a push, but if your supports are just getting rounded out behind you, you're pretty much just flying solo at that point. So you
exactly,
really
yeah. As we can see already with yeah, exactly. I'm glad you said just like that because we could already see Spider-Man when Blue would jump.
Yeah, look at this, going on the flank, getting in the back line.
Look,
and he's
already
using
right
that camera, peeking around him. It's a perfect playstyle for Spider-Man.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm so glad on that move because you can most definitely tell with him doing that. They had talks in that intermission as it went down. Maybe not ideally that was the plan, but I'm glad they kind of came up with the strategy at least. But Red is just very aggressive, man. Like they're making Blue fall back and kind of pushed him to force into defensive momentum right now. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Good little tank swap there. Good little tank trade for Emma. And honestly, like, just whenever you're talking about like trying to, we were talking about momentum earlier. Even if like Junko didn't quite get the desired result, in a way he kind of did because it made them fall back. Because you know, one call out from one of your supports about like, hey, they're in our backline, is going to pull everyone back to your supports because you need them to stay alive.
Exactly. Yeah. When that happens, your most focus definitely changes, and your plan can either stay the same or change in that moment. And yeah, because I'm more for someone to have someone that backline, because if you have someone in your backline to establish that dominance on your enemy side, you most definitely have secure victory.
That was a good 2-pick there from Liz, being able to get
really
couple hits there, trying to fight around this little cornerstone right here.
I'm really liking Liz and that duo of Lucero kind of staying right side to side of each other. If you think about it, they're sending Lucero in there, pretty much doing some damage support, and having Liz on the backside with her little power up and her little, you know, it looks like the throwing swords. That does a lot of damage.
Guess this is their version of timeouts in this world.
I guess, yeah, I didn't know that was, wow, okay, yeah, that was a great timeout choice. Or
usually you can't do that mid-game. Well, shows what I know.
That's pretty, yeah. I guess the timeout's been in, yeah.
It's kind of like, so in total, the way that the timeout system or the pauses work is that you have up to 30 seconds to use before the match resumes, which is kind of like, well, I say that and then they changed the timeout limit to 30 minutes. So
and I was like, I think that's a 30. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, great information to tell, because I did not know they were eligible for pauses in these type of matches, especially with Red being so close already to that finish line gap right there. But I also wanted to give a little backtrack. You notice they didn't really change the characters. I noticed that. And both teams kind of stood the same, especially for Team Red over there on Go Meet side. They kind of had that same approach with the same characters. So I think they were feeling very confident in their team. There's no change on their players. They came in with the plan. Blue almost had a good sneak surprise on them. I like that approach of having someone, but it's just hard when you have certain characters out there. I'm really liking having Liz as hell out there.
Okay, well, very awkwardly back into it. Just
back to resume.
Yeah, back at it again. So hitting a couple of good shots here, especially using Emma to kind of push up that line, and that's what we were talking about when it's really good to have a decent tank. But you have one of these vanguards just in the back line. You got two, dude. You gotta chill with this. It's killing me. The suspense, man. It's like,
I know.
It's like pausing a movie multiple times in the middle of a fight scene. This is so awkward.
Yeah, you had me intrigued for me. Like, I was stargazing what you were saying, and then all I see is pause. I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's
But hey, at least it shows the seriousness of both teams. You know, both teams for surely want to come off with the win, and I think that's very important to establish on how close the tournament's going to end. They both have the same record. They're both fighting on that 3rd and 4th slot. So really, winner will really have a good bump in the ranking scales of this tournament. So as you can tell, there's a lot of pressure on the line for these young guys right here competing in this tournament.
I mean, yeah, but I'm sorry. It's just really.
No.
It's kind of like, okay, so just to give like a background, right? As someone who has casted for multiple games, okay, so like other timeout methods, right? We have, let's say for an example, Overwatch, right? Overwatch does have a timeout function. You can time out, I believe it's up to 30 seconds. I think it's up to a minute. But in Valorant, you can actually have, I believe it's 2 timeouts per team per game. So you can have up to 4 timeouts, and I think all of those are also 60 seconds.
Okay.
So it is kind of interesting to see a difference. I've never seen a Marvel Rivals game pause before.
I was gonna ask you. Yeah, neither have I. I was actually gonna ask you if you know by any chance. Do you know if these timeouts are just for the entire series or just gonna be for this battle match? If that makes sense.
I have no idea. I've never seen.
We'll have to backtrack on that
I
one, but
would
yeah.
have to double tap on the rules of pausing mid competitive match, but it is in overtime. GM definitely hitting that 99, holding overtime though. But Navy Falcons trying to hold on to it. Liz is gonna pick up Falcons 3, and it really is just turning into this like last ditch effort. Luke takes out Starship. Liz is going to take out that last one, and that will give it over to GM for this one as we move on to Frozen Airfield. I mean, overall though, it did seem kind of like the same general things that we were going up against. Is you had the switch off here from Spider-Man back over to, you know, like the Winter Soldier, and
good old Lucky.
Good old Lucky, but like generally speaking, like the plan for Spider-Man was a really solid one. It wasn't like a bad idea. It was more so just like unfortunate timing. So it was able to pull them back, but it didn't seem like maybe there was a lapse in comms about it. I
think you can most definitely see that was Navy Falcon's strategy right there. I think if they just established Spider-Man when he made that backlash cut as more as like a presence right there instead of him falling, things probably could have been a lot more in their favor. But honestly, Goat Meat on their side, on the red, it was just too much a great performance. I really like Liz as Hela. She's holding it down as a bad character with her performance of Hela. Honestly, Luke, he's pretty solid with Thor. I mean, as you could tell, I think that's FF2, I believe that's now the thing, or FF3 is the thing now. I think having Luke right there, as he's in trouble, he was pretty solid for them. So I think as they approach that, we'll be able to see which character can utilize their strengths.
Ooh, good pickup there with Lucky. Definitely able to get rid of some of that threat. Trying to, you know, hit a couple of times. Not going to connect to anything, so it looks like GM is going to win this fight. So at this point, with 3 people left, realistically, either you want to contest or you want to reset, and it looks like that's what they're going to do is reset. So they're going to fall back, regroup with the team, which is a good strategy. You know, hold down a little lock point here. Build, you know, if they're going to come into your line like what Thor's doing right now, get some poke damage in there. Build up your ultimate. Save it up for a good push here, which right now you have 3, and that's exactly what Frisco's going to do. Coming in hard and fast, trying to make sure they can get onto the site. Good, beautiful push here, actually, by Navy Falcons.
Yeah.
Trying to push their way onto it. Venom. Oh. It was a good push with Venom, but it seems like they just couldn't get any actual eliminations. Now, a good thing to remember is the best strategy for them in this this exact scenario, right? Is when you're going to use an ultimate for a push, you really need to focus on what is called in the scene anyway, squishies, which is your weaker characters. So if you can get rid of the supports, if you can get rid of a couple of DPSs, you pretty much just got rid of most of their defensive line here. Speaking of just Hela doing some work, I think that was actually a 3K. Good.
I believe so. In that move she just did.
Hela.
Man, I feel like I think I might be Team Red's coach for a minute. They executed that plan really well. I'm not sure if you're paying attention, but having Liz full back a little bit as she's collecting damage hits to build up her power up was a really solid move, because not only that performed a solid base as now Team Blue's trying to make a desperate move to just get past to that wall. So however, since having Hela right there and just feeding back and just kind of eating off of them, it kind of putting Blue in a very awkward and kind of last minute decision. And being Luke the poker, he's poking at Team Blue. He's making them uncomfortable. As you can see, they're just slowly keeping back.
It really is just going to be like, at this point, I think the main way that Navy Falcons are going to come out of this is if they just use all 3 of their ults, go ahead and burn them, try to just push them off of site and start rebuilding them back up. And it looks like that might be what they're trying to do. You see one coming out there from Band, which is going to turn everyone invisible. Not for very long, though. Second ult coming out there from Frisco, trying to just keep it building. And it really is just a 1-to-1 fight here. But it looks like the Falcons are trying really hard to come out on top. They managed to take out 2. Liz is on their own, though, trying to use that ultimate. And I think they might be able to hold it with just Liz and 2 people. They did contest. It It is an OT,
Oh,
but actually the Navy Falcons might be able to get some points on the board, and that they will.
I would say you want to at least get a point on the board. At least I know it's not ideal, but at least want to feel good, some kind type of team confidence on yourself. You know, as Blue's trying to make some type of, honestly, really type of make anything happen at this point. You're kind of in that position where you just want to just play the game and just do the best you can and just send it and just as we see that final push from both sides.
Yeah, Falcons trying to hold on to this one, but it's being taken again by GM. Really trying to hold on to it. Heavy pressure. You got basically Vanguard versus Vanguard just trying to hold on to it, but it's going to force Frisco to try to pull back and just hold that rear line, just hopefully waiting for a teammate to come back, get some heals in here. And it is just a mad dash on point. Overtime. They're doing a really good job holding on to it, though. Luke's going to go down. Bandit's going to pick up one. Frisco takes out two.
Oh, there we go.
Spider-Man's going to be the one to take out that top.
And guess who it was?
Hella.
XP Junko. I'm loving Junko as the mobility characters. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, XP, but I'm really glad you're doing the mobility characters. I see you going on and off with Spidey and Bucky over there. Looks like they're gonna need you for this push, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
And
Junko's
FF2,
actually.
FF2. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that Junko has been just really dominating in those backline fights.
Yeah.
Speaking of, gonna go ahead and hit that ultimate. Kind of an odd place to do it. Maybe a little bit too much.
Yeah.
A little too less of health. Probably should have done a little bit of poke and then hit it. But overall, though, you got Hulk here trying to just dish out as much damage as possible.
Damage.
And you see what we were talking about, though. You have GM switching to that more brawler-sided loadout here. Trying to basically just go fisticuffs with everyone he's looking at.
Yeah, you see the normal matchup of Hulk and the Thing just going at it. But honestly, yeah, I mean, it turned out okay for Lucero for using his power-up kind of early. I was expecting him to fall pretty soon, since usually when players use their power-up pretty soon. So
here we are, overtime point for this one. Either Falcons have to pull this one off and hold it down, but it looks like they're 3 down. Really just lacking on this one.
Oh, it's not. Oh.
But he was able to hit the ult. Oh man.
Oh.
They got a few seconds left. They just have to be fast. I don't think they're gonna have time.
Oh no.
And GM will take it.
Gonna eat them.
But very, very good fight put up there by the Falcons. I mean, they managed to get it all the way up to overtime. Again, they did it before too.
We've been seeing that second time, yeah.
So it seems like maybe they just need they just have the adjustment. It just comes like right at the bitter end, and then by that point, like it ruins the other team's like confidence that they have to switch up their strategy, which is a good idea. But this is where like the big issue comes in at, is that they also can just adjust their strategy, which they did, switch to a bit more of a brawler loadout, and that was pretty much a done deal at that point. And even though the Falcons were putting up a great fight, it just seems like that when it comes to adaptation, GM just had it locked in.
Oh man, and MVP. I was mentioning it to you earlier about having Hella as a good character for this tournament. As you can see, Liz utilized Hella's character's powers and everything. I was really loving it, how she was just kind of as a back flank and just kind of building up her powers, building up her damage points, just getting everything loaded to make some good aggressive moves. So I think honestly, in the long run, Blue just couldn't really just take that out of the game plan. And sometimes when it's just a player like that can utilize their player, hold a position down, it goes long ways. And I think Blue wanted that to be Junko over there, or XP. Sorry if I keep saying his name wrong. But I think Blue really wanted XP to be like Liz as Spider-Man, hold it down. But Liz was just a really great gamer. Honestly, GM's just a really great team. We see a lot of great players over there. I'm loving the New York Giants over there. Really great performance from really both teams. But Credits due and credits due. GM held it down. They are more aggressive, more of a team plan. They stuck to the plan when things got really crazy. So credits due and credits due. Great game, guys.
Absolutely, and I do have to, throw out there, I definitely think that Liz holding it down as Hella was totally major MVP. I mean, as Liz, getting 3-0-3 is insane. Like 30-0 is insane for assists. 30-3 is even better. So overall, though, I mean, 24k damage. My goodness, you gotta give it definitely to Liz. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, you gotta give it to the Falcons. Is that they were able to basically turn a really, really rough situation into almost a victory, 99-99, and you lose on OT. That's nothing to be ashamed
Yeah.
of whatsoever.
Yeah. You are honestly right. Nothing to something. That's probably the best way I could put it if you're the Falcons, And I think they showed great versatility and great determination. Like you said, they weren't really right in the right mindset. They weren't coming off too good. They were lacking a lot of stuff in the beginning, and we saw a big spark of momentum in that second half. Like I was rooting for Blue, but I just think with too many good characters, like having Liz as Hella, that was just the main problem right there. And I've been saying that twice, but Liz just great job on Liz end for being that strong back plank and just holding it down. It made it very difficult for the Falcons.
But overall, we're going to get ready for our next matchup here in just a little bit. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Nova.gg Cosmic Cup for Marvel Rivals, and we will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Pick your hero. Or villain, I'm not judging. Seconds before you attack. Get ready.
Hey, cool blood. Doodads, majiggies.
I don't know the actual mileage, but this feels like a long way from Queens.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
Faced greater challenges and danger.
I hate this part! Warning! Shield compromised.
Looks like the mission area is yours to capture now. Capture the mission area!
Nice! The symbiote Spider-Man returns! Oh man, I'll never be safe in Central Park again.
Directly behind you. Was just a scratch.
I don't think that's a welcoming committee.
Your team's capture progress has passed the halfway point.
Feeling fantastic. Fantastic! Ha ha! Ha ha! Oh! Ha ha!
Double KO!
You get a weapon! You get a weapon! You get a weapon!
The only way we win this is together.
They've almost got it!
We've been discovered. They can't be allowed to seize control. Feeling fantastic. Not so fast, friend. Doctor Strange is pouring. Get in there.
You'll have to keep fighting until we have a winner! Double KO!
This is real firepower!
Bring on the chaos!
Hey, team! Enjoy the amplifier!
Stay away from that onk that starts to hum.
Quite the collaboration.
Seconds before you attack. Get ready.
Reed, you do have a plan to stop Victor, don't you, darling?
Would you still love me if I said, not yet?
Of course. but I would also be extremely concerned.
As would I, my dear. As
The
would I.
battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
I've been fighting cosmic menaces all my life. It's just another day on the job.
Watch out, they're headed our way. A shield.
I am ready to put on a show! Shields up! The exciting mission area is yours to capture now.
Better watch your back.
Choose him. Well, hello there.
Capture the mission area!
Mission area is up.
Just the idiots I was looking for.
My good deed for the day. Armor patch here. Pay up.
Oh, I'm fine.
I'll patch you up.
Your team's capture progress
Bring
is
on
past
the
the halfway
chaos.
point.
Feeling fantastic.
It's the grand finale!
You get a weapon. You get
It's
a
okay.
weapon. You get a weapon.
You need me.
Nice.
Thanks for the shield. I like the cold.
I was fine.
Invigorating, no? The more the merrier.
I'll patch you up.
You belong to me!
This is real firepower.
The more the merrier.
And doing a little bit of damage here, but it's not seeming to be quite enough, and that is kind of the issue with Spider-Man, is it definitely can dish out some decent damage on a little bit more weaker opponents. But
Exactly.
overall, though, whenever you start talking about like the group fights, it starts getting a little sketchy.
Yeah, I most definitely agree on that one. Or look at that move right there.
Bye.
Oh, hey.
So Huntington is going to be able to take out that Loki, and it
I like
looks
that. I like that one actually.
yeah, and Twinkie's
that was a good
pretty
one,
much
though.
right on the cusp here. Oh, just
Uh,
edging it out. It's so close. They just gotta push him off of the point for just a little bit longer.
Come on, guys.
GM is really trying to hold on to it though. They have at least one person on it contesting, which right now is Rocket, and Rocket's on his
Killer,
own,
yeah.
but he stepped off of sight, and that's going to be it for
No,
Twinkies.
That's such a God. It's such a headache to go out like that. You know, just finally seeing some type of light, some type of optimism, hope. It's just a tough way to go out to GM, but credit is due when credit is due to Twinkies. I felt like they were just straight up just dominant, and it goes to this person right here. This person. Twinkies has just a roster of players. I don't even know who to like single-handedly call out. As you could just look at those numbers, man. Like I would have a hard time picking who to go for the MVP if I was on the Twinkie side. But honestly, just the way their play style, the way they were all just in sync and coordinated their attacks on that, and I really liked how they have Mr. Fantastic, aka Senor, and Jimenez holding it down up there. It's just what can you do, you know?
Yeah, but you still have to give it up for GM. I mean, they were able to pretty much hold out that entire time. Even with one loss under their belt, they pretty much were able to absolutely adapt and overcome most of the time through these matches. And even whenever like another team seemed to be getting the upper hand on them, they turned it right back around and basically just made it a shutdown on like overtime usually. So like overall though, both teams had an amazing setup there. I mean, good grief. Liz was absolutely killing it with Hella. Spider-Man was going insane. You had a lot of highlight reels there, and all of them should be extraordinarily proud of themselves. But top line in the bracket speaks for itself. VH HTT Twinkies, 5 wins, 6 map wins, no losses, undefeated. They are going to be the winners this time around here. But second place, definitely no small parts. Tulsa and Lacey taking second and third position there with 3-3 and 3-2 for the map wins. 0.75 and 0.66 is nothing to go home ashamed of. And honestly, just an overall killer matchup today. So, you got any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, honestly, I'm right with you on that one. Shout out to all these teams, man. You know, I would not be going home head shaking and head disappointment. I know it's never ideally to go home with these type of results, but hey, you can live with this type of experience and you can live with this type of action that you've remembered. And honestly, we've seen a lot of dominant play. We've seen a lot of great strategic play. We've seen a lot of ups and downs on pretty much in every team's rosters, but great performance from pretty much everyone on this championship tournament run.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just like throwing it out there too, Marvel Rivals is still like a really fresh game. So like we saw pretty much most of the teams today had probably around the rank levels of like bronze. They were just getting started. You saw a lot of generic levels being at about like 15, 16. I think the highest one I saw today was in the 50s. Like,
yeah, I believe so too. Yeah,
like the game hasn't been around that long, so plenty of room to grow, plenty of room for the game itself to change, and all these players to start tuning their craft up. And it isn't like this is the only championship. We got one going on next month too, and it should be
right back at it again. Yeah, exactly. I'm really glad you're saying it just like that too. And especially this game is new. I believe December of last year, this game was kind of making its way into the big media world of formality and popularity. And heck, I know Ultron's on the rise, not pun intended, but I know with a lot of characters coming added to the roster, there's a good chance to, find the ones you love, enhance those skills, enhance those little combo moves we can do, and just kind of live with it,
Absolutely. Well, that'll wrap it up for us here today. Again, Twinkies taking it home tonight for the Cosmic Cup Marvel Rivals. Congratulations to them and all teams involved. Again, final standings here. In first place, Twinkies with 5 wins, 6 map wins, taking it home in first place, with Tulsa and Lacey coming in second and third with no small parts of 3 and 2 respectively. But, I mean, overall, again, congrats to all the teams for making it as far as they did. And that's pretty much going to sum it up. So, for the Nova GG Cosmic Cup here from Marvel Rivals, my name has been Chase of Spades.
And I'm yours truly, Mike Wazowski _209.
And we cannot wait to see you next month in June when we go right back at it again. Super excited for that. But have a great rest of your evening. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.
All right. Take care, everyone.